Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unapologetically Keto. My name is Ralph Peterson. That is Kat Versa. Is it Versa or Verka? Verka. Versa. What is it?
Romanian. Verka.
Verka.
Hmm.
Did I say it right? Verka?
Verka.
Verka. Because I was thinking it's a silent C, like a soft C, like Versa. I'm like, Versa.
I think that's kind of more of the Italian Verkas, but no, he comes from Romania,
Romania.
or his.
Kat Verka, my friend. We met way back in September of last year during Dr. Boz's 21-day class. So I've been begging you to come on this show forever. So thank you for coming on.
You're very welcome.
I'm
And
excited.
it was serendipity that we got to be in the same group together in that class.
Agreed. And you know what's super fun is it's fun to me now. It's weird. It's weird to be where we are because you and I do not look like we belong on a show about dieting. You don't look like it. I don't look like it. But here we are. And you almost have to show people that there's a before and after in order for them to understand why we're on this show. Is that fair?
That is fair. It's completely fair. Um, I I I knew I knew I had some weight on me. And it was interesting. I have a very loving husband who never really saw me as a big woman, and friends and family around me never really said anything derogatory. So I never really
Really?
felt fat. No, I never really felt fat, at least from others' perceptions. However, in going through the archives and preparing for this, I was the fat lady.
You were the fat
I
sibling,
see it now more clearly than ever.
the fat friend.
I was the fat friend, yes.
Yeah. I don't know if I I don't know if it's a male female thing because all of my friends reminded me how heavy I was all the time. Like there was never I remember this one time I worked with a guy who I hadn't seen in a long time, just, stopped working with him or whatever. And I ran into a grocery store, him and his wife. And they're like, "Oh my God, Ralph, it's so nice to see you." That's her. And he goes, "Gee, you put on a lot of weight." That's the first thing he says. And I was like, "Okay, thanks. That's true. Thank you. It's nice." You said something, you wrote me a little letter, a little history here. And there's one sentence that it's funny because you're talking about a certain period of time, but I can relate to it for all time. And you just said many seasons of sadness, grief, deep depression, and severe anxiety worsened as my weight piled on. What a sentence. What happened to your volume? I don't hear you anymore.
I don't know.
Oh, now I hear you. Is there,
Okay.
do you have to move something? Is there a loose wire?
Nope. Nothing has changed.
All right,
I
don't move.
probably just okay. Nope.
No, you are
The
coming in and
internet
out a
is
little bit.
strong. Everything's strong. So
So, if you don't mind, I'd love to just jump right in and have you tell me about this lady here.
well, this was definitely a period of time after several people close to my world passed away, and
How old were you here?
I was in my 50s
Yeah.
then. I'm 67 today. Just turned 67. I know you had a birthday recently too.
Yeah, April. Were you always heavy, like as a kid even?
When I was younger, I definitely had more more on me than my friends. I always felt very envious of my skinny friends. But again, no one ever really called me out or said I was big. I just always felt I was tall and kind of
Big
chunky,
boned.
you
Big
know?
boned. That's what
Big
was,
bone. Oh, that
yeah.
that term was used a lot.
And
I
husky.
just had big bones.
Big boned and husky. Well, boys are husky. Girls are big boned.
Big bone. Exactly. So yeah, I was always you know, tall and big boned and curvaceous, and I carried the weight pretty well. People always guess my weight, usually 25, 30 pounds less than what I weighed. So I thought, I guess I'm carrying it pretty well. I guess I'm hiding it. So,
I'm super curious. Like, were you hanging out at a carnival? Why were people guessing your weight? What? Why is that a thing?
I don't, that's a good question.
Why
I
would
don't
anybody? If
know.
anybody came up to me and go like, "Let me see, you look like you weigh," I'd punch him in the nose. Like,
It might have just come up in conversation that I felt like I needed to lose some weight, and
oh,
people
and they
would
would be
say,
like, "You look
"Oh no,
fine."
you look
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
You only, how much do you weigh?" And they would guess, and yeah. So anyway, but in secret when you have to keep going out and buying the larger clothes, and you find yourself doing the you know wearing the clothes a certain way, making sure they cover all the things, and I've found myself going up in sizes, going up in sizes, going up in sizes, and I go, no, no, this is going the wrong way. But rubber didn't meet the road until I got here in Tampa, and a doctor diagnosed me with AFib, and I couldn't figure out why the last few years were so tough on me. And I was getting a lot of shortness of breath. I couldn't walk very far. It was just getting more and more difficult. And
And this is
so,
when you were in your 50s.
yeah, I was 50, 57, 58 when they discovered the AFib, and that really drove it home that perhaps the way I've been living my life might not be good for me. And so I had to make a lot of changes, but the weight didn't come off easily even after that, because there were still so many procedures and so many things. And I didn't know, again, the whole diet land thing,
Yeah. So, what
you just
diet
go
did you
from,
do? What diets have you tried? Have you had success on
oh,
anything other than keto?
yeah, start Weight Watchers, and I did that with my brother for a while. That worked really well. We did that hormone one for a while, where we're taking the hormones and eating um, what was it? Three of us did it. My husband, myself, and my brother, and we lost a lot of weight on that. I think we were eating only 500 calories a day, and doing the hormones. Um,
I'm not familiar. I know the eat for your body type, for your blood type.
we didn't do that one, but I did, I can't remember the name of it. Darn it, I should have looked it up
What was
before
the
we
hormone? What
got
was it was
together.
like a hormone replacement,
Yeah,
like a GLP-1? What don't
I guess it was kind of like that, but I'm going to have to look that up, and maybe somebody who's watching who might put it in the notes. I don't know. But some people went to the doctor, and actually it was kind of like a GLP-1, in that, some people got the injectable version of it, and others just got I guess, the pill format or something. It was so long ago. We did that. We did Weight Watchers. My brother and I did that together. And then, just various versions of, low fat, um, cutting out processed foods, eating a lot of rabbit food, you know, that all of those work when you're cutting calories,
yeah.
because you're cruising along at 3,000 calories a day just because life and, burgers and fries and alcohol and partying. And, my family, we didn't need an excuse to eat. We love to eat.
Same.
We're
Same.
volume eaters. And, just pretty much every weekend was time to get together, time to potluck, time to put all the good foods together.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh,
We'd find a
wonderful.
new fat recipe and build a party around it. You know what I mean? Like there's an event because there's a new food group.
And there are, my sister and I are the ones who've really grabbed on to keto slash carnivore. And we're both, we lean more carnivore than keto now. But so we've lost a lot. And so we make a very concerted effort that when we do these family gatherings, that we have our food there. And it's okay, whatever food is there. We've been on the journey long enough that the cravings have now are mostly under control. I'm not going to say 100% because I'm human, and sometimes if I have my kryptonite out there on the table,
What
I
is the
might have a
kryptonite? I'm
bite.
curious. What is it?
Oh, for me, it's chocolate chip cookies.
Really
I
interesting.
know.
Interesting.
Chocolate chip cookie talks to me, jumps up off the table into my hand and into my mouth. I love them.
Somebody just asked me how to stay on track. Like, how do you not have a cheat day, cheat meal, a fall off the wagon, whatever? And I sat with that question all day because I was like, God, I don't even know how to answer it because I've never been this way. I've always had a cheat day. I've always, and even in my book, I make the point of saying, have a cheat meal, not a cheat day. And I myself can't follow that, could not follow that advice to the T. I mean, if I have a cheat meal, I would have the rest of the day as a cheat. I mean, well, I already had that. I may as well, and I may as well, and I may as well. But I've not had a single cheat anything since I started keto with Dr. Boz. I've not had anything. Not a French fry, not a potato chip, not a bite of tiramisu, nothing. I've had zero. Zero. And I'll be honest, I think the main reason, well, there's two reasons. One reason and one little factoid that kind of resonated with me early on with Dr. Boz is, first, I came to keto in great fear. Started having chest pains. My doctor, my cholesterol's high. I was doing dirty keto, trying to do carnivore for a long time before I met Dr. Boz, before I was ever able to be in a state of ketosis. And so by the time I find Dr. Boz, I mean, all the doctors are telling me, basically I'm going to die of a heart attack because have my cholesterol so high and all this, and I'm eating meat and I shouldn't be. And of course, at the same time, I have zero ketones. There's zero. I'm not 0.1, not point. There's zero. I can't figure out how to get in ketosis. And so I'm in the class, the 21-day class with Dr. Boz, out of sheer desperation. I know I got to do something. I got to figure this out. And somebody in the class asked a very interesting question. They asked her, they said, when do we get to go back to eating regular food? What a great question, right? Like, isn't that the question we all wonder? Like, because every diet I've ever done always had an expiration, whether it was a 12-week.
A maintenance plan, right?
Yeah, or it was until I fit in those clothes, or I just want to lose 10 pounds, right? Like, there was always an end, And Dr. Boz said, never. And I remember, I didn't ask the question, so nobody's looking at me, but I just kind of sat there in it. I'm like, never. And she was just like, never. You're changing. This is how you eat, period. There is no end. You're never going to eat after this time. You're never. This is it. And I just accepted it. I just, you know what I mean? Like, I just sat there and I just rolled it over in my head, and I'm like, you know what? I mean, it's
That imprinted on you.
It really did.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of people who are challenged, have severe health challenges where that is absolutely the truth. Or people like yourself where you know that literally the tipping point is far too near and easy.
I I don't like the idea of like, so I was an alcoholic for a little bit. And it could be argued that maybe I wasn't an alcoholic, only because a friend of mine asked me if I still had a driver's license. And I said yes. And he goes, "You can't be an alcoholic and still have a driver's license." Fair. Okay. So, there's levels, I guess. But I will say this, I drank every day and I couldn't stop. So, whatever that means. When I was trying to quit drinking, and by the way, I tried to quit drinking for like 4 or 5 years before I actually succeeded in quitting drinking. And during that whole time, it was my goal to manage my drinking, not quit drinking. Like I just want to be the type of person like my friend who can have a beer and no big deal. I've never been able to be that person. And so at some point you have to kind of, or at least I did, kind of come to grips with maybe I do have a problem. Maybe I am a alcoholic. Maybe that's the label I'm going to wear. And I wore that label for a long time. And I would say that I'm an alcoholic. I would accept that I'm an alcoholic. I would go to AA and I would go, "I'm Ralph, I'm an alcoholic," right? Like it would be this whole thing. And then at some point, I was maybe 8 years into being sober when I was like, I'm no longer going to take that. So I no longer am an alcoholic. I don't claim it. I don't own it. I'm a non-drinker. That's it. For me, I like that, right? But then when I'm going to quit food, it's the same thing where my wife, my family, they're all like, "Why can't you just have a couple of M&Ms and then put the bag down?" And to me, that's insanity. I don't know why. I don't know, but I can't. I can't have a bite of ice cream. I can't have an M&M. I can't have a piece of cake. I can't have French fries. I will eat everything. And I don't know why, but going through the quitting alcohol and then, having health problems, finding keto, Dr. Boz says never. And I'm like, you know what, Dr. Boz? I understand never. I can do never. What I can't do is a little bit here, sometimes over there, if there's a holiday. I can't do that. But I can do never. I can do never.
That fits your constitution. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because I find myself, having this little internal mental fight of the never versus, "Oh, I've been really good for about 3 months. Maybe I can go ahead and do X. Um, and so I I don't necessarily plan cheat days or cheat meals or cheat snacks
But you will
necessarily.
partake. You will.
But every now and then I will.
Yeah.
And then, just get slapped upside the head when I check my numbers. And thank goodness that, I've accepted that checking my numbers and testing is got to be a part of this journey for me to stay on track. And so I test those things and then I get the information back that says, that wasn't a good idea, Kat.
I I I started a running diary with ChatGPT. I started a little project where I tell it every day what my numbers are, what I ate. I track all my food. I track my weight every day. I track everything, and I'm wearing a CGM, and only and not to get it right as much as to really try to figure it out because I just want to know. I want to know what should I be doing, what works, what doesn't work, how does my body react to certain things. Really curious.
Equal one. N equal one. We all have to be there. It's what you're saying that Dr. Boz says never. And I think that's going to be true for many people, the never. But she also says that we each have to experiment on ourselves. Just know that how your body responds, and you can only do that through testing and tracking. So you might be a person that can make those changes and it not affect you as much. I noticed that a lot of people, for instance, somebody in our Tuesday group with Dr. Boz this week, um, as many people will have discovered recently that sardines are flying off the shelves. It's almost impossible to buy sardines these days, which is crazy. Kudos to Dr. Boz and all the influencers. Absolutely. Today is day 3 of my sardine fast, by the way. I just finished my sardine dinner. So this gentleman in our group said, Dr. Boz, I'm really mad at you. Everybody's buying all the sardines and I can't buy them at Costco anymore. And so his question was, can I do salmon? Can I do mackerel? Can I do, and to me, people can do those things, should do those things, should find out how their body responds. Sometimes you need to pivot. Sometimes what you need or want in the moment is not available. What are you going to do? So it's good to know what your backup plans are, what you can eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's interesting about that too is the idea of reintroducing carbohydrates was Atkins.
Yeah.
Atkins was you would do 14 days of nothing but protein, and then you would start to reintroduce carbohydrates. And I don't remember or ever even think I knew how to tell, because he was like, and then you'll find, slowly add back in the carbohydrates and you'll be able to see, if your weight starts to go back up or something. But like, if you go when I was doing Atkins, you go 14 days without bread and then you have a half a slice of bread, you're through the whole loaf of Wonder Bread before you even know it. I mean, because it's been 14 days without it, And so it's funny, in the 90s, we didn't have we didn't have the Keto Mojo. We didn't have the finger stick. It was literally like you reintroduce carbs at your own peril, like you're guessing.
Did Atkins too. I forgot. That was definitely a part of it. Yeah. Beach and Body for Life, all those things.
Oh, you did
So,
Body for Life too?
yeah,
Yes, so did I.
for a minute.
Yeah, well, I did. I did Body for Life twice. The first time kind of failed, but the second time, like, I lost some pretty good weight. I gained a lot of muscle. I was in the Marine Corps when I did it. I did it with a couple of friends, and so it was fun. I liked Body for Life.
Support made a difference in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that particular season.
It certainly did. It's better when everybody around you is doing the same thing, because then it's super easy to stay on track, or you're the jerk not staying on track. I remember being in a Weight Watchers meeting and somebody brought in brownies. I was like, somebody should speak up. Don't bring
They had only
brownies.
1 point. Were they 1 point brownies?
I think they were like some sort of a Weight Watchers recipe on brownies. But my point is that the only day I go to Weight Watchers is to weigh in, and you don't have a good weigh in. You're not in the best mood. Somebody brings a tray of brownies. I mean, I was probably going to go to McDonald's anyway on the way home. Let's be fair, but. My downfall with Weight Watchers is I was always celebrating wins with food.
And that's the thing. We have to create some boundaries and guardrails to remind ourselves how important this is.
Yeah. So you were saying earlier, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but was it fear that brought you to this? Fear kind of, right? Like you had some events, and that's what kind of brought you to, like, I got to get my life in order here.
it was a lot of curiosity. If fear originally, when COVID hit, and we were told that if you were fat and you didn't exercise and you had any sort of uh, compromised immune system, that you were probably going to be one of the statistics of COVID,
Oh, I was going
end
to
up
say,
in
you're
the
talking
hospital.
2020 right now. You're talking
So
COVID.
right
Yeah.
now, right. Um, so that shook us up in terms of that fear. And yes, in 2016, when I found out about, or early 2017, when I found out about my AFib, you know, so just one thing rolled in. I really didn't find anything after the AFib diagnosis. I just was sick for a few years, and the weight never really came off, and I was just chasing treatments to get the AFib under control, and then when COVID hit, and because I had AFib and because I was overweight and not exercising, that whole fear factor came up close and personal. And it so losing the weight really helped, but the AFib was still around, and I still had two more ablation surgeries, finally resolved in 2023. Thank goodness. But really, what brought me to beyond just lazy keto, just trying keto recipes, trying keto friendly food
How did you
at the
even hear
result.
about keto?
My daughter, I have to credit my daughter for that. She had learned it. My daughter always, it seems like she's on the cutting edge of everything she's the trend setter. And so she said, "Mom, this is working for me. Why don't you and Dad try it?" And it was COVID, so we did. And she gave me a recipe book, and we started doing the recipes, and we started paying attention to how many carbs we were putting in our mouth, um, and that started us into losing weight. And but then we lost the weight. I lost 100 pounds. Nick lost 60, 70 pounds. Uh, but then life took back over again. Okay, well, we're, back to what you were saying. We lost the weight. Okay, I can reintroduce the foods. Um, I think that's a wonderful thing I'm learning about keto and carnivore is that it really is a great way, if you're going to get strict, to do it as a elimination, eliminate everything, and just then go back to testing what the foods do by slowly introducing them back into your life, the ones that you really think are important for you and that you can control. And so, yeah, I have to credit my daughter for bringing us to that and helping us see that. And then
Were you testing though? I mean, how did you were you doing pee
no,
strips at
not
the
not
time or
then,
anything?
not then at all. We just tried to keep our nose to the grindstone and follow the recipes and stay as keto as possible, and lost all that weight. It felt so good to finally be down, in sizes. And then, like I said, we pretty much started gaining, it back. I didn't gain it all back, but I gained a significant amount back. And then, I think, the messages just keep coming, the universe and the just keep coming, that you have to kind of keep paying attention to your body, and your body will tell you, pay attention to those little aches and pains, and being out of breath, and your heart and your heartburn and your high blood pressure, all of that, those are all little signs that, you know, you have to make some adjustments, and you have to really go into that experiment of what's doing it and why is it doing it. So when our daughter passed away in 2024 of pancreatic cancer, it devastated us.
Holy, I didn't realize that. Oh my gosh. How old was she?
was only 52
Wow.
years old,
Wow. I'm
and
sorry
she
to hear
was
that.
quite quite young, and it turned our world upside down, and we didn't understand. She was so tiny and she was so little. How did it happen? And and then so in our deep dive of research and finding out about cancer and how so many cancers are glucose dependent. That's how they thrive. That's how they grow. That's how they duplicate and replicate in your body. And you don't know you have it. And in her case, she didn't know until she had so much pain in her back and in her stomach that finally, and as happens with pancreatic cancer, um, by the time you realize that it's stage 4 and you don't have more than 3 to 6 months to live, and that
Oh
was
my
her
gosh.
case. So learning that and learning that glucose, was a huge driver in the speed of that particular disease. Um, I found the Quit Sugar Summit, and I said, "Okay, what's this, and why? Why is the Quit Sugar Summit even
Are you
around?"
saying quit sugar?
Yeah,
Quit
Quit
Sugar
Sugar.
Summit. Never heard of it. Okay.
Yep, I found it, and
Is it like a
it,
conference?
it is, but it's online.
Oh, okay.
And so it wasn't a lot of money, but I don't think they make a ton of money doing that. But their passion, their goal is to teach people about refined foods, refined sugars, processed foods, carbs, and that the number one thing you need to cut out in your life is sugar. Start there. If you start anywhere, start with that. Just cut that out. So, learning about that and learning about so many people and their struggles and their challenges and their health challenges. Um, but a part of that very first summit that I watched, Dr. Boss was one of the speakers,
Really?
and she talked about her mother. She talked about that story. I learned about her book, Any Way You Can. My husband and I binge listened to that book in,
Does
in
she
one
read it?
entire day.
Does she read the book as an audible? Just curious. Doesn't matter. I read it too. I have it too, but
No, I
I
don't think
read it.
so.
I didn't listen to it. Be cool if she read it.
No, yeah, we listened to it. You know what? I don't recall. It was 2 years ago,
It's okay. It doesn't matter.
but it was so impactful because I love how she told the story about how she, really basically got her mother in remission of cancer. The
In the
cancer
same
was
way,
gone from her body.
understanding that cancer eats glucose or sugar.
Right. And so you talk about hardcore ketogenic space that they both went through it. And which is, another thing that really makes a lot of sense to me is having support. And she knew her mother couldn't do it on her own, so she had to dig deep and she had to do it too. So she had to prove it to herself that it was possible. And having lost Emily, I thought, gosh, learning this a little too late. If only we could have. But the message that I took from that as well was that none of us really know what's percolating, unless we continue to take our labs, and really try to stay as healthy as possible and not put our heads in the sand. When there's things going on, we've got to go and seek out what's happening and why it's happening. That's been one of the blessings with Dr. Boz and a lot of people in the ketogenic space and the carnivore space. I learned from so many. Um, is that you really have to understand what metabolic science is about. Once you start diving into that, you can't unlearn that. You can't unsee that. You can't deny it. The science is there. And then, and like you said, a lot of people, Kat, are you okay? You're getting kind of thin. You're losing. They didn't say that so much when I was a big girl, but when I'm getting thin, they're going, are you sure you're okay? So I said yes, and I check my labs regularly. And one of my biggest wins, and Dr. Boz also has Own Your Labs on her favorites page, and a nice bundle that I highly recommend that people go and get their labs done if they start this journey. That is so important to know what's going on in your body. You're making these changes. Don't you want to know what it's doing to you? And so in November, before she had this bundle, I went to Function Health and signed up for their 1-year program and got all these labs done because I was on this, year. By then it was a year and approximately 9 months that I've been on the program.
With Dr. Boz.
Fixing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had gone through 2 21-day metabolic kit classes with her. I'd done the GLP and GIP extension class. I had done previous to that, the Keto Continuum course, really understanding the science. What's so important about eating differently? What's so important about these foods? Why is it important for me to cut out all these other foods? What's it doing to my body? So all of this knowledge has just been stacking one on the other. It's been so amazing to learn. But then I had to find out, so what am I doing to my body with all of this? I've done these classes, I've done I've done the fasting, I've done the sardines, I've cut out all the carbs. Most days I only have 5 to 10 carbs a day. And that's either coming from eggs or an avocado. If I cheat from Carnivore, it's an avocado. Love my avocado.
Interesting. Avocado's in. It's replaced the chocolate chip cookie. I like it.
Actually has. That's a very good point. But yeah, so I did the testing in November and I got a very extensive lab report back with a clinical report at the end that said that your calendar age is 66, but your biological age, your biomarkers are showing that you're 14.9 years younger.
Wow. That's pretty amazing.
I talk about reverse aging.
Yeah.
So I can tell people I'm not sick.
You know and thank you so much, if I haven't said it already, for coming on and just having this conversation with me, because like you're saying in your whole story, it's all of this that we've been going through is because we don't know. We didn't know. I never knew what my mitochondria was doing, right? Like I don't know. My doctor said, and that's what I went with, And I have been steadfastly hating my doctors ever since this whole idea, because I feel cheated. But at the same time, they still don't know. And many of them didn't know. They still don't know. And I'm envisioning, just like you're saying, like with Dr. Boz now, people can't find sardines. Everybody's eating sardines. That's the future. The future is the keto carnivore will be the norm, and everything else will be that's how they used to do it. That's what they used to teach in medical school. They don't teach that anymore. And they now know how bad sugar is. They now know how bad that is. You know what I mean? Like I see that happening, but I think that, probably even I can just imagine that my grandfather ate Spam and eggs for breakfast. And he would not have had cereal. And I remember as a kid having cereal, like a sugared cereal. My grandfather would be like, what the hell are you eating that junk for? And then we moved from my grandfather, forward, and that junk is now got the American Heart Association seal as healthy.
Makes me so mad because, even now they keep trying to morph the cereals and the processed foods into something healthy. And so I don't know if you've noticed on the shelves, I don't usually walk down the cereal aisle, but again, in my research, or just watching the commercials on television, they're now putting protein, Kellogg's protein cereal. They're putting the word protein on the cereal packaging now, just to convince that, to go with the high protein craze.
There are, in New York City, there are literal protein restaurants, like little cafes that is everything protein. You can go in and get protein pancakes.
It's all processed.
Well, it's a pancake. It doesn't matter what you put in it. It's still a pancake.
Still flour. Right.
And I'm not against cookies. I have a monster book and cookies company where I sell children's books and gives cookies away with children's books. I'm not anti-cookie. But it's not healthy. You wouldn't want to sell protein. Well, they do. They sell protein cookies. Good Lord.
Do they? They're these manufacturers, this big food and big pharma. They're just trying to cover the market as best they can to keep their profits going.
Yeah.
And this whole Maha thing is starting to derail some of that thought process and some of those profits. And
yeah, I wish that were true. Maha's a scam.
I don't disagree with you there. The underlying foundation warms my heart that we do need to all get healthy again. Foundationally, I believe in that. But
no, I agree with that too. I think
I'll observe anything political.
I think that the here's the takeaway, I think, from me with Maha, is that you shouldn't have taken the government at their word on picking what's healthy and not healthy for you in the first place. And Maha came in and said, we're going to really change this. And the truth is, you still should not take the government for their word on what to eat, what not to eat. Because although he turned the pyramid upside down, the actual criteria stays the same. And that is where the schools get funded. So schools that are feeding children, you can still have pizza for lunch from first grade to 12th grade. And schools are not, and the schools are not going to give you high fat, low protein as an alternative because it's too expensive. Period. End of story.
Exactly. So you've got to feed the masses, and you can't do it on that.
And I work in nursing homes, and so for me, the realization was because I'm a consultant, so I don't spend a lot of time in nursing homes now. I'm usually on the phone or on Zoom calls with nursing home operators at this point. But I was recently in a nursing home, and I was excited to tour the kitchen because of Maha, because they turned the pyramid upside down. That means the regulation requirements of the food requirements, the macro requirements for the elderly have changed. And wasn't I surprised? I'm like, what? Don't we have to increase the protein and the fat and reduce the carbohydrates? They go, no. I go, but the federal government changed the pyramid. They go, they only changed the graphic. The literature still says the same thing it said before. They literally just made the graphic look a bit different, but the regulation is the same. And they have to go by the regulation because they accept federal money. And I was heartbroken. I was like, that son of a... I know.
Yeah,
I know.
it's harsh. It's so harsh. I mean, my father's in a nursing home. He's actually in memory care because of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
He's got type 3 diabetes,
I
as
was
they
just going to
say.
say type 3, sure.
And but there's this place in I think it's called Surprise, Arizona, and
Yeah.
they have a nursing home there. And they are actually, they did turn it upside down,
Yeah.
and they're feeding their population, their community,
Yeah.
protein and fat.
I got to reach out to
And
them. I would
I
love
don't
to
know.
talk to them.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it would be really great if you had
Yeah.
somebody on from them, because he's passionate and he's making big changes with that population. And some of the people actually get to go home.
Yeah.
You know, they come in, they get healthy, and they go home. And
Yeah.
then they keep the regimen and they extend their lives by
Yeah.
literally doing the protein and the fat.
Yeah.
And he does do the high fat. So when you see it happening in real time to yourself and to those around you, and stay in community and stay in support, wow, big difference.
Yeah. I love that. I love the idea of the nursing home, how he's turning stuff around, and I'm very interested in having a conversation with him. I would love to find out more, but I'm sure that it is all private pay, and that's the way it has to be in order to be able to make that work. It couldn't be government funded, and that's kind of the problem, because if we're going to have success and really make Americans, all Americans, have a fighting chance with health, it unfortunately does have to be backed by the government, because big food is being helped by the government. That's why potato chips are so inexpensive. It's not because it's not inexpensive to grow potatoes, it is expensive. But because of the government subsidies, they're able to offset those costs. And so if a nursing home doesn't have those same subsidies to offset the food costs, we're not going to be able to do that at a large scale. It's not an even playing field. I didn't mean to talk about
You're
nursing homes,
absolutely
but
right, though. Well, no, I mean, taking it from cradle to grave, baby. We didn't get to this point because we discovered, you know, high fats and proteins and macros 50 years ago. I mean, literally, this is, like you said earlier, I wish we had learned this for ourselves many years ago, because this is the trajectory. You see, more of the results of this than most people do.
yeah. It again, I keep bringing up Jimmy Moore. Jimmy Moore wrote a book called The Keto Clarity, and I got to eventually reach out to him, if for nothing else than to yell at him for not being more loud. And he wrote a book, Keto Clarity, in 2014. I'm like, in 2014, I was dying for a diet that would. How come I never heard of him until, you know what I mean? Like, I found him in 2026. Atkins. Do you know when Atkins published his book?
Gosh, I'm gonna say in the 80s.
1972. I know. Like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
1972. Dr. Atkins was on the. Well, he was high protein, moderate fat, low carb, but it wasn't even his idea. He was building it on work that was out in the 60s. And it's like, as soon as the food subsidies came, and again, I'm getting political, in the 70s, I've been reading too much Dr. Fung, Dr. Jason Fung stuff. He goes way into the weeds with, mapping all the trajectory of what went wrong, which is maddening, if not helpful. It's maddening. But I just, honestly, at the end of the day, I just miss my dad. And I don't have my dad because we didn't know about keto. My dad looked high and low for anything. And I think that's why I asked you to be on the show. It's why I do this show. I just want to share. I just want to go, just read something, pick up something, it makes sense, just watch Dr. Boss every Tuesday. I always do a little PSA. Dr. Boss, 4 p.m. East Coast time, Tuesdays. Watch live on YouTube. Don't miss it. Always. I love your jacket, by the way.
Come and join us at the Pin
I'm
Chasers.
jealous of your little jacket there. How'd you get a little Dr. Boss jacket? What's that? Where do you get those things?
Uh, you know,
Yeah.
I just volunteered in her office one day,
Ah,
and
that's what you got to do. I'm going to fly down to volunteer to clean a toilet
I
or something.
we all just it's it, she's she is just so down to earth, so authentic, so genuine. So we all in our group will do whatever we can to support this effort and continue growing this and helping her spread this message as far as she can. And she's doing great. It's a
I
great message.
I like I like her story so much, and it's not a unique story. As a lot of other people have come out with the same similar story where they were they were a doctor and they were hook, line, and sinker going along and getting along, but they realized it wasn't working. And they had that next step, like, why isn't it working, right? And for her, when it wasn't working for her mom, she was literally ready to quit everything just to save her mom. Is there any bigger of a hero than that? Like, right? Like, I would do anything for my mom. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what, I think that's part of what drew me so much to Dr. Boss. Once I heard that part of her story, I was like, wow, okay. All right. And then I'm a kadunkadunk by trade, meaning I'm slow on the take. It takes me a little bit to get stuff. All right. Like I have a great example on how long it takes me to get stuff. My dad, when I was a kid, he used to always give me his pocket change. Like always, like if he had an extra, like we'd go to the store and he'd get 2 quarters back and he'd give it to me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm rich for 50 cents, right? Like he always gave me his pocket change. And then when I was like 14 or 15, he had like a cup he had a van and had a cup of like a bunch of change in it. And I was like, sweet. So I took the pocket change and he was so mad. And I didn't understand until like 4 months ago. I was like, oh yeah, because it's no longer pocket change. At some level, the pocket change becomes real money. Anyway, my point is it takes me a long time to learn that lesson. Sorry, Dad. But Dr. Boz, the way that she explained keto when I first started to watch her YouTube channel, and she was just breaking it down, I was like, oh yeah, that's how that works. Oh, and the more I just fell in this rabbit hole, and then because that's
Well, the beauty to me is this is so different from Dietland. In Dietland, you were sold a program, you followed the program, hook, line, and sinker. You just followed it. You believed what they say. And with this, the complete opposite. She is so willing to tell you really what's going on, what's happening at the cellular level, really, teaching. And I'm not a science nerd at all. I avoided anything that had to do with biology, cutting of frogs, physiology. No, that was not me. But she brings the science to such a level that you see the truth in it. You feel the truth, and that's why I go. Is every Tuesday that I'm in Tampa, I will go every Tuesday because I still learn something new from her, and not just from her, from our whole community, and that's again probably one of the biggest things is our community of people who are all healing in their own ways, and some from way bigger things. But when I started this, I didn't realize how bad my brain was until I started getting my brain back. And then I didn't care if the weight was dropping off anymore. That was just a benefit. I was getting my mental capacity back. I was thinking more clearly. I was calmer than I had ever been in the previous 10 years. So she explains all that, why it's happening, how it's happening. Um, what you and I do every week just to maintain our ketone, to stay in ketosis with the cycles of the fasting, be it water, salt fast, or sardine fast. You know, getting those ketones in a cycle, in a rhythm, so that your body is using them. It gets the message. That's the fuel you need to be using, and your brain loves it. When I learned that about the brain, I just said, I'm hooked.
You know, I would not do any diet if you told me that one of the benefits are you're going to think clearer. I would never sign up for that diet. Not because I don't want to think clearer, but because I wouldn't have even known what you meant. All I wanted from a diet ever was to lose weight. That's it. Because losing weight means healthy. That's my equation. You know what I mean? But then, to your point, at some point in the last, gosh, how long have I been doing? September. What has it been? 10 months now? 9 months?
It's 10 months, yeah.
Yeah. I'm
You're
thinking the
amazing.
clearest I've ever thought. I'm writing the best I've ever written. I literally feel exactly how you do about how clear your brain, how you like, and I didn't even know what I didn't know. I didn't know that I had brain fog. I didn't even know. I wouldn't have been able to articulate. Again, you would have said, "Oh, you're going to think clear." I'm like, "What the hell does that mean? I want to lose weight. Am I going to lose weight? That's all I want." Isn't that weird? I didn't know I had brain
It,
fog.
it truly is. But when that piece of it comes back, and then I wasn't feeling as depressed all the time. Uh, the anxiety, the stress anxiety was such a huge part of my life with my work. Um, the the breakdowns I would have were awful, and I feel so much calmer just by changing the foods. And I don't even think about the weight coming off anymore. It's just one day I looked in the mirror and I'm going, who are you? You know, where did your body go?
I I weighed 185.4 this morning, and I don't remember ever weighing that little. And so the
From
question
like
is
a
sometimes,
teenager on, right?
say it again.
From like a teenager on.
Yeah, I don't even remember what I weighed as a teenager, but I'll tell you, like when I was in the Marine Corps, my early 20s, I didn't weigh 185. Like, I I think the lightest when I got out of boot camp, I think I weighed 187. So, and I starved myself in boot camp. I didn't do it myself. They starved me in boot camp.
True.
But the question I get asked a lot is, are you still trying to lose weight? And the answer is yes. And if this is the weight I am for the rest of my life, it's a win. Like,
Right. I,
I'm happy
I
right
feel
where I am.
exactly the way. I feel, I go, I bounce in that tight range now. It's the weight I was when I was in high school. I haven't been this size since then, and and that's great. I don't have to lose more. But the power of being in ketosis, the power of having mitochondria that turn over, the power that I get in the energy that I get from this, that will keep me going.
And for me, understanding what you just said, understanding what you mean by mitochondria, decoupling from glucose and using fat as a fuel source. And just being able to understand that is the big equalizer for me. I
Knowing
always
that's what's
need to
going
know.
on in my body.
Yeah. I need to.
That's important.
Every diet I've ever tried, the first thing I would do is read everything I could about it. I mean, the Atkins book. I remember getting the Atkins book, and I start at page 1, and I get to chapter 11, and it goes, for those of you who skipped to chapter 11, let me tell you about the science. And I was like, who the hell skips to chapter 11? And then when I look at the table of contents, it goes, the diet starts on chapter 11. Who the hell knew? I started at page 1. Like, I'm always just start at page 1 and go forward. But my point is only that I really, really, really want to understand it. I want to be able to defend myself, because every diet I've ever tried, I've ever been on, I've had to defend to somebody. Oh, you look like you're losing some weight. What the hell? I'm doing Weight Watchers. Oh, I heard that wasn't good for you. Well, it actually is. You see, a calorie is made up of 3 different things: protein and fat. Like, there are 0-point foods, and I could go into the rabbit hole on all these diets because I really need to understand them. And it's amazing that I now understand keto, because understanding keto, listen to this idea. Dr. Buzz is the first doctor I've ever heard who said, not, hey, let me tell you what you need to know, but you should just look this up. You should go read. I've never had a doctor tell me to go study something or go read something. Every doctor I've ever known has been like, I've already done the reading. Just listen. This is why you should listen to me. Crazy.
She'll give you, she'll say, here are the clinical studies. Go and look them up. This is what I'm citing. This is what I love about this space, is you've got Dr. Nick Norowitz, you've got Dr. Ken Berry, you've got Dr. Sean Breaker, Dr. Anthony Chafee. You've got doctors who are just tired of seeing sick people stay sick.
Yeah.
And went to find out why is that and what can be changed.
Yeah.
And they pioneered, they went into this frontier, not on an easy path, having to, buck the medical system. But you and I are proof positive for our own journey, as well as all the people we know in the space that we can call friends now, who are on their own journeys and seeing the healing. So many people that I've met who, were diabetic or are diabetic, their insulin has been cut in half or down to 0, because they took themselves on with this, and they had all the information, all the studies. The doctors are presenting it and saying, we're not creating a program. We're telling you what your body's really doing with the food, how it's processing, what the cells are doing. Not like Weight Watchers, not like Jenny Craig, not packaging something, not putting a program around it, making new words, new formulations. They're giving you the science.
I love in your letter to me, you talked about you and your husband when you first started keto, and how you look at it now, you call it lazy keto, right? And
Yeah.
I think what you mean is like,
Look back on it, that's what it was.
we want to recreate all the carb foods in a keto format, right? Is that kind of what you meant? Like, I'll make keto bread, and I'll make. How about you just stop eating bread?
Oh, that was one thing when I first started this journey. I didn't think I could ever give up bread. Was okay that I gave up sweets. Never really a big sugar person, but bread, pasta, that was, I thought that was not ever going to be possible. But now I don't crave it.
How long has it been?
I see pizza. Boy,
It's been a while.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been
August
a
for
bit,
me.
but, if I see pizza, I'll just take the topping off. I don't want the bread.
Yeah.
I'll just eat the cheese and the pepperoni and the fat.
Yeah. Nice. Hey,
Yes,
Tim,
I'll still eat pizza.
Tim said HCG was the hormone therapy.
That is what it was, HCG.
HCG. Thanks,
And
Tim.
and I'm still a part of the Facebook group for that HCG.
Oh, it's still
And
around. You can still do it.
it is still around. There are people still doing it, people who still get the hormone and inject the hormone.
Are you
And like I
doing
said,
are you doing hormone replacement therapy?
I finally finished the GLP-1, GIP, the Zepbound
Yep.
program that Dr. Boz extended from the last 21 day,
Yep.
and I'm actually thinking about restarting it in July. So and mostly because I just felt so good on it, and I am a volume eater. I love my protein. I love my ribeyes. Oh, give me a 1 pound ribeye, and I'm in heaven.
Mm.
And but the challenge for me is that I will overeat. You know, even on keto, I will overeat. And the Zepbound did help. I love the microdose. It just took the edge off, and it
Mm-hmm.
worked really, really well. I had to get over a bit of an adjustment period, and that may happen again. Totally worth it, because it helped me with the volume eating, helped me with the food noise, and helped me just with clarity in my brain. I find that now that I'm off of it, I, I'm just not
How
as
long have you been off it?
about 2.5, 3 months,
Okay.
maybe 2 months. Yeah,
Yeah,
two
okay.
months maybe. So I'm kind of feeling that I'd like to reintroduce that into my system. How
Mm-hmm.
about you? I know you're doing
Yeah, no,
some.
I've not stopped,
Okay.
but I also haven't stopped taking, vitamin D or wearing eyeglasses. I mean,
Right.
to
So
me, the
it's
GLP-1 is a deficiency that I have, and
mhm.
so I'm taking care of it.
Not
Like I,
everybody makes I mean, our bodies are supposed to make GLP-1 naturally.
yep, yep. It does, but it gets
Yes.
suppressed. You know, I mean, not to put too fine of a point on things, but I had a CAC score done, and anything over 400 is high. Well, guess what, friends? Mine's 1300. And when the doctor sees mine and sees that I'm on keto and I have high cholesterol, he's like, this is why you have a high CAC score. And I'm like, you're missing the last 25 years of my life where I overate, overdrank, oversmoked. You're crazy if you think it's been the last 9 months.
Yeah,
It,
you don't blame it on keto. You blame
no,
it on the
it's
last 30 years.
yeah, but my point is that it's reasonable, at least to me, that my body would, if I give it a fighting chance, had been able to produce the GLP, the GIP, the ghrelin, like all the hormones properly, and everything worked properly if I didn't treat my body so terribly. But my body has been suppressed and beaten down for a long time, and to where now I have a deficiency. And I'm not embarrassed because I take a GLP-1. I'm not embarrassed about it. I think that I'm not embarrassed about wearing eyeglasses either. I'm, it's just a medical need. And I know it's a medical need that I agree I probably brought on myself. I agree. I probably did it to myself. Okay. Fair. And, should I just suffer? I don't want to just suffer. So I'm glad you talked about it, because I know a lot of people are and it's fine too if you're not comfortable with talking about it. If it is embarrassing for you, peace and love. I don't want to put any pressure on anybody, but I really am on a little bit of a mission to go. Taking a GLP
And
one
the
is
only,
not embarrassing. It's not the end of the world. You shouldn't be embarrassed by it.
absolutely not. However, if anyone out there is considering it, uh, Dr. Boz and a few others in the space really feel that getting your body into a solid ketogenic state helps that GLP-1, the hormone replacement, uh, do its job at at the most, you know,
Yeah, I think that goes without
active
saying. I
level.
I think they're two different sides of the same coin. I think eating a proper human diet, a keto diet or a carnivore diet, is right for you, and you still need eyeglasses. You know, but just because you have eyeglasses doesn't mean you should, you know, not still do what's right by your eyes. I mean, so I completely agree. I completely agree. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No. I don't. I would love it if more people experimented with that for themselves.
Yeah.
I just happen to know too many people who are doing it and thinking it's going to be the miracle drug, and they can still eat chips and
Yeah.
eat until midnight
Yeah.
and drink all day, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. They're using it as sort of the balance to eating the way they want to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And I just
Yeah, I
have
know.
seen too much.
I know people like that too. I know people like that too.
Yeah. And if they feel that they're getting benefit from it, and it's helping them on their life, and they feel that they're healthier, more power to them.
Yeah.
I'm not here to judge. I just would like to see that, if anybody is considering it, that you want to get the biggest bang for your buck, because that stuff ain't cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much for being on with me. I really appreciate you. It's been super fun getting to know you even more and talking shop. I love nothing more than talking shop when it comes to keto. And you said you're carnivore though. You're more carnivore than keto? Can I ask what you typically eat then? What's
Oh,
like
that's
tell me
really
your schedule. I want to know. Tell me what you eat.
Oh, very good. So Sunday to Wednesday, I usually do some sort of fast, and sometimes it's right after I have a really lovely Sunday breakfast with my husband, which is always eggs, bacon, and avocado. Uh, will will be my breakfast. But then I'll do either sardines or water salt fast, and I'll do that for anywhere from 48 to 72 hours. It really just depends on what's on my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm traveling, if I have a lot of activity, I want to make sure that I have the nutrients I need for doing what I have to do. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it'll be several weeks of sardines, and then I'll hit it hard with a good water fast. But I do make sure I get 48 to 72 hours every single week of some sort of fasting. I got to get that autophagy going. I've
All
got to
right. You
get those
told me about what
ketones
you
up.
don't eat. I want to know what you do eat.
So the eating starts on Thursday, which is
Here we go.
tomorrow. And we'll eat chicken wings, pork belly. My husband's really good at making a whole bunch of pork belly, little tiny, almost
Yeah.
like pork belly popcorn. I
Air
love it.
fryer?
I
In an
love
air
it.
fryer?
Air fryer. We have that
Yeah.
tasty air fryer. It
Yeah,
is
yeah,
the
me too.
best. And every Friday night, a nice big, in my family we say honkin' ribeye steak, and I'll do that, and I put a lot of butter. Mushrooms is another thing I'll usually eat.
Hmm.
Yes, they do have carbs,
You're
but my
sounding more
husband makes
keto
the
than
best.
carnivore.
On Yeah, mushrooms and avocado,
Yeah.
but most everything else is give me any sort of protein with a whole lot of butter or fat, and that's usually what we'll eat. And in the mornings, it's eggs and bacon, and in the evening, it's 2 meals a day, typically.
Mm-hmm.
I like to be done eating between 3 and 4 o'clock,
Mm-hmm.
and then we breakfast is usually between 8:30 and 10:30, depending on the day.
Yeah, that's great.
Just twice a day on my feasting days, and then fasting, doing that. That that brings a nice metabolic cycle for me. I
Yeah.
have to I'm so fat adapted that my ketones are pretty low on my feasting days. And I'm sure you've
Oh
discovered
yeah.
that yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you find that this journey, your body goes, oh, is this what we're doing? Okay, we're going to get used to this, and our ketones go low again. So we have to do something to lift them again.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a little bit more exercise. Sometimes it's sauna. Sometimes it's fasting. And as we've learned after the 21 day, and our personal group, made the pact of doing. How many weeks did we do?
We did
And
24
some
weeks
of
of
us are still
72
doing it.
24 weeks of 72 hours a week fasting.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, I'm in Dr.
And look what
Boz's
it did for you.
I know. I'm in Dr. Boz's 6-week class. And it ends this week, and they're doing a 72-hour water fast right now, but I'm not participating because I'm running a marathon on Saturday. So
See, that's
yeah.
where you have to check in.
Yeah. I'm like the schedule. I'm like, I fasted last week with the group, but this week I'm not going to be able to just because of the marathon.
How about you? What do you eat?
Well, I just bought a smoker, and so I'm smoking brisket and chuck roast. I'm just having the time of my life. But the only thing that I eat that's I would say I'm keto, not carnivore, because I do generally have peppers on everything. So I always have like a jalapeno pepper. I'm not opposed to an avocado. Sometimes broccoli makes its way to my plate. I don't care. It's like you were saying earlier. I mean, if I get 5 grams of carbohydrates, it's. Say it again.
Right. It's usually, this much compared to the protein and fat. I mean, it's percentage wise, it's usually less than 5%.
My
carbs.
diet is about 80% fat.
Exactly.
Yeah, I track every day. So I track what time I eat, what I eat. Like I said, I'm keeping a running diary because I'm just, again, so interested in, because not to get too far in the weeds, we should end this, but I always, at first I thought high glucose means low ketones, and it doesn't actually for me. My glucose is always in the 90s. Doesn't matter what I do. Like, doesn't matter what I eat. It's always, unless I'm fasting. If I'm fasting, it'll go down to the 70s, 80s, but it doesn't stay there. And my ketones will just go up and down as they want to. I also do my blood every morning, but I do long runs twice a week. And by long runs, I mean, I'm talking 10, 15, 20-mile runs. And then I'll check again after a long run. And my glucose is still 90, doesn't move. But my ketones will go up like from a 0.5 to a 0.9. Like, it's never like this dramatic, and I think, to your point, like, I'm just so fat adapted. Again, I've not had any cheating since September of last year. Well, the last time I had a dessert, I was in Hawaii with my wife in August. So when we came back from Hawaii, I joined Dr. Boz's class 2 weeks later. And I've never, looked back. And
what was your weight again? Remind me.
I was 267. I was 267 when I started Dr. Boz's class in September. And I'm 185.4 this morning.
That's remarkable.
Yeah. I feel amazing. And I'm thinking clearer than ever. I'm, like you're saying, like, I'm devouring books. I'm writing better than ever. And I would have never thought that brain clarity was something that I needed. Like, it's so. Who knew? Who knew brain clarity?
When that perspective comes in, it's like the rest is all bonus.
Indeed. I really just, I had some heart palpitations. I thought I was having a heart attack. Every doctor I have tells me I'm about to die if I don't take a statin. It's this whole fear-mongering thing. And so I've been on a real journey of discovering I'm motivated by fear. I don't want to have heart problems. I want to live, So I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for finding Dr. Boz and Dr. Ken Berry and Dr. Chafee, Dr. Fung. My God, I can't get enough of Dr. Fung. All these giants in this industry, and all the great friends I've made. You and Pam and Karen and just everybody. It's been amazing. It's been amazing.
You and I have a similar family in that, there's a lineage of heart disease, and we're trying to not, repeat that. We're trying to
64
stop the
is the
cycle.
64 is the oldest any man in my family has gotten, and I'm 55. So, come hell or high water, I want to win this race. I want to win this race. Fingers crossed, I'm doing the right thing. We'll see.
Supporting each other.
All right, Kat, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and being here with us. Just keep in mind, it's worth it. You are worth it. We'll see you guys later.